が死んだ。これを。
Yo, it's been a while. I just gotta say that it's really hard to make a video when you're playing Resident Evil 9 because that shit's really good. Regardless, today we're here to talk about FF4, Mass of the Lunar Eclipse. This is the game we never got, which was stuck in Japan for a while, but they finally ported it to consoles and on Steam. And this is interesting because this is the first game that started using the third person, so I was particularly excited to see how it would turn out. As I'm speaking to you right now, Fatal Frame 5 has already been completed, and in 7 days Fatal Frame 2 remake is about to come out. Gonna be a little bit late. I'm gonna say this game wasn't at all my favorite, or I don't even think this one is as good as the other entries in this series, so I'll tell you later. With that said, I think we can begin. In the prologue blossoming, we're introduced to two characters, Madoka and Misaki.
私の言う通りにしてればいいの。まどかもあんな風になりたいの。そう、私たちを見てしまった。次は私たちの番だ。神隠しにあった5人が順番に。
These two girls go to Rogetsu Island, an island that is connected to them in their childhood. The 5 kids who used to live on this island, 2 have already died, and Misaki believes that the reason or the answers lies in the island, and if she remembers them, she can maybe prevent it. And her first move is to abandon her friend that she came to the island alone. We pick up a flashlight, we witness Misaki not giving a damn about us, obviously, and then we see our spirit. Said ghost told us to leave the premise, and we pick up a key. The one quality of life I love with this game is that when you pick up a key, it reminds you where to go with it. I'm not gonna complain to this because this would have been a much needed thing I would love in Fatal Frame 3, at least near the end. Because when it gets all confusing and you can go everywhere, it can, you know, be a bit messy. We unlock the door, but we encounter a ghost. What's really cool is when you enter the room, you see a bunch of camera obscura. Man, that guy was putting in the work. Regardless, it seems like it was a trap by Misaki, because the moment we pick up the camera of obscura, a spirit attacks us. And this served as our first encounter with a ghost in this game. There's nothing much to be said, it's just standard FF gameplay, but the camera, I do like how it looks. It looks pretty nice. Madoka tries to leave, but unfortunately the ghost surrounds her, and instead of pulling out the camera of Obscura, she just sits in the corner out of fear, I guess. Maybe Misaki had a good reason abandoning you. Phase 1, the summoning. Ruka, our true protagonist, arrives on the island for the same reason as Misaki and Madoka.
あの時、何があったのか。
Funny enough, the first thing I did was try out the photo mode, and it's pretty cool. You can add some ghost models, player models, and just place them and, you know, take screenshots or something. I'm surprised this wasn't in the first game, honestly, with the camera thing going on with this franchise. Oh, damn! Wait, give me a second. Oh gosh, well we're moving on now. Unless a time shenanigan is happening, it seems like Ruka was just behind Madoka before she got spirited away. I guess the reason Madoka got jumped in that room is because she literally left the camera on the floor. Crazy. Madoka, tired of the slander, locks the door, preventing us to progress inside the building. And when I say lock, I meant using Ghost Force to prevent the door from opening. Like usually in this franchise, you need to take a picture of the door, and it'll show you a picture, and you go to that location, take a picture, and it opens the door. But I'm not gonna lie, in this game I had trouble taking an actual picture of the door, because the tracking was just not working for some reason. You have to be very close. I thought I was bugging, so I went to check online. No, you have to be super close to get the picture. It's really insane. Regardless, it shows you a picture of masses on the wall. Once you arrive, you notice that one is missing, and a spirit stole one. Since the little bride is hiding behind the gate on the 2nd floor, we need to use the electric panel to open the gate. The electric panel puzzle is pretty simple. All it requires you is to get the number 13, so it's mostly trial and error. Once the gate is open, you go directly to his room to go pick up the mask under his bed, and he gets furious. Not a difficult fight, but when I saw him, I did a lot of damage to him, which forced him to bloom. I will explain what that means later on. In short, it's his 2nd stage. You'll know a spirit is in this stage when their eyes become blurry. The only annoying thing about this fight is that this room is pretty small, and every time I open my camera, he's either too close or is teleporting. So every time he gets too close, I adjust myself and then he disappears. Once you defeat the brat, you take the mask back, put it on the wall, take a picture of it, and go back to where Madoka was trapped in. And as a reward for finding her, you get to touch her. I'm not even joking with you get a prompt to actually touch her. I know for some of y'all it's gonna be your first time, but please keep it respectful. Unfortunately, it looks like they dealt with Madoka, so we have to defend ourselves with the camera of Obscura. Ruka is safe for now, but she is starting to have the effect of the budding. There is 4 stages to this sickness. Right now we are safe, but the 4th stage is terminal. We start phase 2 and we play Misaki. We can hear Madoka crying on the phone. And I'm not gonna lie, I kinda feel bad because technically it's Misaki's fault for leaving her alone in the main hall. Regardless, we need a code to enter her room where she's crying in. Once you find the code behind the clock, you go back to the nurse's office and you get a jump scare. After you put the code, the same nurse who's scaring you will attack you. Same thing for when you reach Madoka's door. Once you unlock it, there will be 2 spirits that'll come out of their rooms and attack you. While not a hard fight, it can be a bit tricky when the ghost is behind you while you're trying to deal with the other one. Regardless, the door is locked, so you need to take a picture of it, and it'll give you a hint to go to the library where we met Madoka. When you reach to the library, there'll be a key waiting for you and a ghost that'll attack you. And I gotta say, this ghost made me laugh because when I took a picture of him, he just simply dodged like it was the Matrix. Like I said, he was kinda clean with it though. A girl dressed in black visits us and tells us we're gonna blossom. She doesn't attack us, but she seems like it won't be the last time we'll see her. But the star of this chapter is Ayako, because this little girl is straight up on demon time pushing people down the stairs. Like she took notes from Momori and said, I can be worse. Like even the nurse staff did not want to mess with this child. They were scared of her. And for good reason, because look at her pulling on the hair of the nurse. It's unfortunate, but it's not totally Ayako's fault. Well, a little bit, but I'll explain later why. Since Madoka used to be in this hospital when she was a kid, she and Ayako weren't the best of friends. Ayako cut her bird's head off clean. The nurses felt bad for Madoka, but they couldn't intervene because the director told them to keep monitoring their health and, behavior. After you touch Ghost Madoka, again, you kinda have to go investigate Ayako's room to find out what's up with her. And her room is pretty cool. It's definitely messed up having the dolls hanging from the ceiling, but it's pretty cool visually wise. Heck, you can even hear the echoes of Ayako's laughter. Heck, the fight starts with Ayako falling on your back, getting a free hit in. Like it's crazy, you just begin the match and you're already hurt. Besides that, she doesn't do anything worth mentioning. Once that's done, a girl will appear in the room and ask Misaki if she remembers her. She then get blasted with memories of both of them when they were a child, and that's pretty much it. I just wanted to say I'm sorry because apparently Misaki got teleported by this girl and she didn't abandon Madoka. That's my fault. While simply being a hater for the love of the game apparently. Phase 3, we're introduced to Choshiro, a detective. Since Madoka is dead, we need someone to replace her.
神隠しにあったルカたちをこの病院の地下で見つけた。それで全てが終わったと思っていた。だがあの時の5人のうち2人が死んだ。事件は終わっていないのか。
If you remember well, K was our first and last male protagonist. And what he brought to the table was basically nothing because he had a weak camera and only could push heavy objects. But Choshiro, they gave him a flashlight, which is the equivalent of a shotgun that used solar energy. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, this time they gave the male protagonist a flashlight. Unlike the camera of Obscura with text ammo, the flashlight just charges by itself. Regardless, Choshiro is on the island because Ruka's mother sent him to make sure Ruka comes home safely. But when he arrives on the island, he finds out that Yohabura is here. He was the main culprit of the investigation way back when he captured Ruka and her friends. Unfortunately, someone took the blame for him and the case was shut down. This is why Choshiro became an investigator to bring him to justice. Most of the chapters for him is mostly chasing after Haibara and always being behind. A cat and mouse game with a greater mystery behind. Nothing happened in this phase, but there is a ghost that flashes my screen. I was genuinely confused if this was normal. but apparently it is. He has a flashlight that doctors have to check your eyes, and for some reason I thought he had a scalp. Regardless, it was not enjoyable him flashing my screen, but I guess it's only natural since I have a flashlight and I'm putting it in his eyes. Regardless, he goes back to the cave where he found Ruka and the other girls all these years ago, but unfortunately, they're not here. Also, I added some sunglasses to him because it kind of make him look really cool. With the playable characters introduced, let's talk about Rogetsu Island. Like every Fatal Frame game, obviously there's a ritual that failed for the spirit to get back up. But here it's a bit more complicated than that, because the residents who live on this island had this illness they could get. That illness is called the Getsuyu Syndrome, or the Moonlight Syndrome. It was an illness the residents of the island could get. They would have the bunning phase, where they would be scared of mirrors, the breaking stage, where they would lose a bit of their sanity, and the resonance stage, where it would amplify the people on the first stage to become, to quicken worsen their state. And the blossom stage, where it would produce max destruction on the island. Anybody that looks upon you would immediately die. The history of the island, it happened once that it failed, but they managed to contain it. But this time, they couldn't because they were missing one key up component. I'll tell you later what it is, but this is why it's a ghost town, and well, they're just spirits. Disastrous events related to the syndrome are usually called the Day of Tranquility. I am drastically not explaining this well, but I hope that made sense. Regardless, Misaki and Ruka and Madoka and the two friends that died, the reason why they don't remember their childhood is because they were part of the ritual, and even though they left the island before the Day of Tranquility, they still have the syndrome. This is why I feel like this place is actually really cool, because you can see how the doctors were trying to cure the patients and how the patient would act while they had the illness. I will elaborate later on after we're done with the phases. Phase 4, Void. We return with Ruka searching for her memories. There's a music that starts playing in the intercom, and Ruka remembers absolutely despising it. I guess you can compare this to kids who play Five Nights at Freddy and hearing Freddy's music playing. Regardless, they would do this on the patients to find out what would happen because everyone had a different reaction towards it. They would call it musical therapy, and I'm just saying if you would be playing that music in the morning and force me to wake up, I would be angry. I might have strangled you. Once you go to the intercom room to stop the music playing from the nurse, Ayako calls from the intercom asking for a new toy. The nurse immediately responds by attacking me. I guess she really wanted to die by my camera instead of facing Ayako, which I think I understand. Once you go in Ayako's awesome room, you pick up her medical file, and you understand why Ayako's doing it. When she uses violence, it's to get a grip of herself. Most patients get a grip of their personality or an object, but Ayako's the first one to use violence. And then she got a free hit on me when I interacted with the door. Absolutely nothing changes, but you fight her again. Going from Ayako's bright room with sinister laughter echoing throughout the walls to this room is terrifying. Like in phase 3 with Choshiro, you face a girl that looks like the girl from The Grudge, so having this with no music is kinda terrifying. To keep this short, you went to that room to pick up some piano notes that makes you remember about a lift or elevator. And when you reach the lift, you're introduced to the first goth ghost in the Fatal Frame series. As pretty as she is, the danger is not her, it's the person she's carrying. Yeah, that person is not actually a person, it's a doll made in the likeness of her sister that passed away. And obviously Ruka just loves touching people, that's the first thing we do. And immediately Ruka learns about boundaries. I have to say this ghost is one of my favorite in this game, and probably top 5 in this franchise. And no, it's not because she is goth, get that out of your head. It's just because the fight is interesting because the doll approaches you in a forward manner, while the sister kinda like teleports, appears on your back, on your sides, and try to get a sneak in. Sometimes they mess with your enemy detector and make you think you're surrounded. It's pretty fun. I do think they're really cool and their design makes it an icing on the cake and having both of them together. It's really nice. After you dealt with that, the final boss will casually appear in the garden to give you a little bit of a scare. Like usual, if your screen is white and black, that means the enemy is invincible or can literally one-shot you, so it's better to run away. This is the same person that caused the Day of Tranquility, by the way. Well, technically not her fault, but we'll get there. Once you get the power back on and go to the lift, you get jump scared by a man who's just drooling from the mouth. Once that's done, you go to the floor where Ruka's room is in. And while things are getting familiar for Ruka, we move on to phase 5, Wind Faces. We go back to Misaki in Ayako's room, and she remembers that she still hasn't found Madoka. but we decide to follow the mysterious girl instead. He leads us back to the creepy ass room, and we have to take a picture of the door to figure out the clue. The clue is a doll in Ayako's room. What's really enjoyable about this game is the clue or the picture you need to go search for is always near the area. What's not so good is that you fight Ayako again, for the third time by the way. I didn't say it earlier, but you faced her off in the last chapter, again. But you find a note from Ayako during the Day of Tranquility, and unfortunately she wasn't lucky because she took a peek at the girl with the messed up face, and it made Ayako reach terminal stage. And you can see in the note that she cries out for Yo and her mother, which is hinted to be the girl who caused the Day of Tranquility. Sadly enough. We enter the door that was sealed and find a film that we could use in the dining room. What's contained in the film is the ritual that caused all this, technically. The Rogetsu Kagura. They did 2 of this at the same time. One for tourists on top, and in the cavern they did the actual true ritual. The footage shows Misaki as a kid watching the fake ritual being performed before being dragged underground to do the actual true. Madoka was tired of being forgotten, so she starts attacking Misaki. But we make short work of her, but she gets the final laugh because she leaves a note behind saying we could go die with our new friend that we were introduced earlier. Regardless, I'm not gonna say she's right, but Misaki doesn't really react after you finish her, so we immediately get a prompt to go investigate the new girl that appeared in that room earlier. Regardless, we continue our adventure and we try to go to Misaki's childhood room, but it's locked and the picture we must find is a wheelchair from that golf girl. And going inside her room to find the wheelchair, I'm not surprised her room looks like this. I have to say I'm sorry for my manners because my camera was wandering. Say what you want about her, but she got that pose locked down. And she also have coffins behind the curtains. Once you try to leave after taking a picture of the red wheelchair, the doll will attack you. And I killed her pretty fast. Unfortunately, this character is tragic because even though she's a doll, she's based on a character that used to be alive. She was with her sister, the golf girl, and they had an argument and she pushed her. It made her become paralyzed, explaining the red wheelchair. She was paralyzed from the waist up and she realized that her sister loved her a bit too much. And she noticed that since I can't move and my sister seems to have done this on purpose, she'd rather not be online anymore. Regardless if her sister pushed her on purpose or not, she realized that her sister was in a dark place and that she hopes that she would be saved one day before deciding to take her life. This is why the doll is a replacement for that sister, and you can see that, and it's really tragic. I like these characters. Regardless, we enter Misaki's room and we pick up a medical file that says she shouldn't be separated from her friend at any time because it allows those two to be stable in their illness. She starts to remember the type of treatment they would do in her room. And look, I know I'm not a doctor, but I have no clue how this is supposed to help the patients. Regardless, these same doctor appear in the room as ghosts now, and he keeps flashing my damn eyes. Once you dealt with them, you get a koi fish puzzle where you just make the accurate image. It's not hard at all, it's pretty simple. Once you open the box, you get an image of Misaki next to a woman without a face. But when you actually see her face, she is quite a pretty woman. But Misaki doesn't remember her at all. Phase 6, Moonsong. We play as Ruka again, and we focus on Ruka's past, and her trying to remember it. But this time, we decide to bug an artist for his painting for the Torta block. He knows as well because he starts running away. Once you take a picture of his drawing, you go to his room and you can see he's making a giant portrait. It's a lady in red with a blurry face with black hair. The girl that woke up and caused the Day of Tranquility. The same one we had to run away from. Since this guy was an artist and was suffering this illness, he would draw and he would get a vision of that fearful Day of Tranquility. You can even see him on the ground having an artist block. When you go back to Ruka's room, Ruka remembers the horrible music that used to play in this building. Not only that, she finds a diary that she used to write when she was a kid, and finds a music box. Unfortunately, you cannot open the box yet. Like the usual, it's sealed, you take a picture to know where to go, and then yada yada. But this time you get a cogwheel puzzle, and these are always fun. The musical box plays a beautiful tune that Ruka remembers and does it on the piano. This makes her remember her mother.
So, 上手ね。ねえルカ、もっと上手に弾けるようになったら。
But that's not the only thing, we get to relive some of those memories. You get to wander her old house on the island a bit, and she remembers her father. Her father used to make masses for the ritual. Ruka's mother saw the darkness in his eyes and said that he changed too much. She decided to take Ruka and leave the island. If I'm not mistaken, he was in the family line of people who made masses for the ritual, so he took the job very seriously. Once you get back to Memoryland, you get jump scared by your own mother. As you can see, since she is a spirit right now, that means she's dead before the game starts. Then she notices a mask on her bed. This is the same mask she used during the ritual. She doesn't remember much, but she does remember seeing Yohibara put a mask on her face. And the lady who was close with Misaki. With remembering that, she decides to go under the hospital to the same cavern she was found all those years ago by Choshiro. Phase 7. Tranquility. We are back with our detective, and as you can see, we're in the same cave Ruka just got in. It's a bit strange, but time and space might be screwed up just like in Fatal Frame 1. Because Misaki and Madoka arrived on the island first, and then Ruka arrived, but they never met while they were running around the building, you know? It's strange because Ruka would power up the elevator, and then Misaki would use it, but you know, it's just strange. Thought for food. Anyways, we chase after Hybera again. In fact, that's all we do in this phase. We do get attacked by a bunch of spirits in one room, but the flashlight is so damn strong that it's not an inconvenience. The only inconvenience is waiting for the batteries to come back. We also find out the director of this hospital is related to Yohibara and the lady in red, named Sakuya. The notes say that he was pretty excited to do the ritual, not because he was evil, it's just because he really wanted to cure his daughter. It would explain why Yo was kidnapping children as well, because they needed compatible people for the ritual. It's even implied that Ayako might be related to them as well. It would make sense since they were just letting her do whatever she wanted. And in her final moment in a torn up note, she did mention Yo. We then follow a nurse who used to be part of the ritual, at least the tourist one that was harmless. We find another film, meaning we need to go back to the dining hall to watch it, and we get attacked by a bunch of spirits. I'm not gonna lie, I thought I had to beat them, but they kept spawning and spawning until I realized they were coming in infinite numbers. So I decided to leave and they all left. Once in the dining room, Choshiro will watch the film, but remembered he was actually at the event when this happened. Well, at least the tourist version. The 5 organs, the children will wear masks and be possessed and play an instrument, while the vessel, the one in the middle, will dance crazily like she has a fever. Unfortunately, this would have been alright, but since they were doing the real ritual underground with Sakuya, everyone who was doing the tourist version died of a heart attack. The people who were doing it in the cavern got better luck. Instead of dying, well, the kids just lost the memories, Madoka, Misaki, Ruka, and the vessel, well, she fell in a coma, Sakuya. After seeing the woman's legs and being kinda creeped out and being scared, we go to the painter's room. We find some clues, but he attacks us with paint. Not a hard fight, but I do like that he throws projectiles at you, which I feel like it's lacking in this game. After beating him, Choshiro looks at the painting of the lady in red, Sakuya, and remembers he was there at the day of Tranquility. 2 years after the failed ritual where Sakuya woke up and with a distorted face killed everyone on the island.
再び島を訪れたあの日、この島から人が消えた。
Phase 8, Sakuya. This is Misaki's last chapter. We continue following the girl in black, and I just wanted to tell you I haven't upgraded the camera a single time. I don't know how long these characters will stay compared to Ruka, so I just didn't want to waste resources to screw myself over. The simple dilemma of having multiple characters. Regardless, we go to the lift and go to the final floor that not many nurses have access to. When we get out, we get attacked by a ghost walking on the ceiling. I'm not really sure. Not a tough fight, but since my camera is not upgraded and I was missing my fatal shots, it was taking quite a while. Once she's cleansed, you pick up a note from one of the nurses who was in charge of this floor. They kept hearing voices in their head and felt uncomfortable because they couldn't remember the patient's face. And not only that, it got worse and worse to the point where the girl could only hear her. They made sure this patient not get out because not only did he take a master key to open it, it needed a code as well. Unfortunately for the nurse that was stationed that day, she was most likely the first victim when Sakuya woke up. You fight her before reaching Sakuya's room, and it's a long fight because she keeps hiding behind the walls and my camera sucks, so you know. Before she fell in a coma, they would let Misaki go up there because it would stable their condition, like I said earlier. Since they both had spiritual power, it seemed like it helped it stable their condition. And maybe Sakuya saw Ayako in Misaki. It also says that she fused her mind with some dolls and they gave her some semblance of sanity. Or a bit of time, I guess, to be normal. And, you know, it goes back to Ayako because her room has a bunch of broken dolls in the ceiling. It's pretty cool. And while there's some interesting stuff like Misaki's diary as a kid, or Sakuya's sanity slipping and writing a bunch of nonsense in her book, there's a lot of dolls in this room. These are like the dolls your grandma would have. They'll be like porcelain dolls that scary and tall for no damn reason in the dark. Then you have this sliding puzzle, which is the hardest thing in the game. I'm not lying. Like, it's not even that hard. It's just that the last piece of the damn puzzle, the last one, to get it at the right place can be pretty tough. When you get past through all that, you get her final note, and she does mention Ayako in there, so that's pretty cool. After that, the girl in black sends you to the rooftop, not so you can off yourself, but you'll see Sakuya's mother. Sakuya's mother had the Moonlight Syndrome as well, and she was losing herself. Not wanting to die, forgetting herself, she decided to take her life while she can remember some things, but she did feel bad that her daughter was going to get this eventually. The mysterious girl in black leads us to the cave where the real ritual took place. She remembers that Yo brought her to the cave to do the ritual. Unfortunately, Sakuya's mask broke and she fell in a coma. But that was back then. Now Sakuya is right in front of Misaki. This fight is not too hard. She moves quite a lot, but when she does an attack and misses, she's open for a shutter chance. And since that does a lot of damage in this game, it doesn't matter if my camera is not upgraded, it does a lot of damage. After the fight, you see that Sakuya becomes the girl in black, and she drops a doll in front of Misaki. It seemed like this doll was one of the dolls that Sakuya put parts of her mind in. At least that's what I got from this. And she says that as long as she has the doll, she won't end up like Sakuya. Which was a damn lie, because you die immediately after this. I picked up the file once that said that when you remember some stuff, it can worsen the illness, but I'm not really sure anymore. Maybe it was just me. But Sakuya does an evil smile, hugs her, and then she just falls on the ground. Phase 9, Descent. Now that the other girl's dead, I can put all my upgrades into Ruka. And we're back where we left off, and Ruka remembers Choshiro finding her here. But now he appears in front of her and gives her a mask. Or to be precise, he gives her a part of a broken mask. Once that's over, two spirits try to jump you, but now that the camera is upgraded, they stand no chance. Like seriously, you cannot comprehend the power I have in my possession right now. You put this bad boy with slow lens and you're ready for everything. But unfortunately, the game knows this too, so Sakuya is roaming and she still can one-shot. Since Misaki beat her, I try attacking her to see if it did anything, but nah. It's time to run. While running away, we reach to the tourist event, where the Kagero was held. The people who are performing are now attacking us. And I gotta say, if I didn't upgrade my camera, I think I would be stuck here, because the movement option in this game is pretty slow. So the first time they give you 4 goals that are actually fast, it can be pretty tough. But this was enjoyable, because they do not want to let you go. They keep charging after you non-stop. No fight pushed me to use the slow lens until now. After that, we follow a man into a house, and Ruka remembers this place because she used to live in there when she was a kid on the island. Phase 10, Fallen Petals. Funny enough, this is Choshiro's last chapter as well. We begin by meeting Yo admiring a picture of his sister. When we turn around, we get jump scared by a red wheelchair. I tried to ignore it, but the goth girl did not take kindly on that. We see the fit. But it's kinda hard to convince someone who's holding a flashlight that can burn your skin. So I two-shotted her. Like, the flashlight is broken, it's crazy. It seems like she decided to go to the beach after seeing the distorted face of Sakuya. Not a bad place to die, but I'd rather go somewhere with snow. And maybe some stairs to hold my back together. We meet Sakuya again in the courtyard. But this time, Choshiro is like, yeah, I'm a fighter. Nothing can go wrong. While we explore Sakuya's room after she woke up from her coma, Ruka's mother comes visit us. She tells us to pick up the mask as it's very important for Ruka. She then tells us that Ruka is right now currently in the cave. Unlike Ruka's perspective, Choshiro's perspective, she's still a child for some reason. Regardless, as promised, we gave her the piece of the mask and then chased Yo outside. We chase him all the way to the top of the roof and then get stabbed. We finally understand that Choshiro was reliving the same day over and over again, until Ruka's mother came and kinda snapped him out of it. I'm surprised he can use the flashlight at all, honestly. But I like this twist, this is pretty good. When you replay it, you can actually find some hints here and there. Phase 11, Eclipse. Now that we only have Ruka to play, things will be a bit simple. We need to find a few masses with charms to open this door. The first one was easy because after you cleanse it, Ghost Mommy comes and say hi. But like usual in life, good things don't happen twice in a row. This time it spawned a samurai or whatever and he immediately killed me. Once you beat him and get the other last charm, you can finally go to the room which will have a moon puzzle that was in the earlier rooms. You go back where Misaki freaking disappeared and only the doll is left. But we do find a piece of the mask. We continue and we find Ruka's father's workplace where he was making all these masses. We also find another piece, but not only that, we find out that Ruka's mother had a bloodline of guardians. Yeah, so just like Ruka's father, who was special because his family line was making masses for the rituals, Ruka's mother was a guardian who would play the Moonsong during the ritual to appease the soul of the vessel and blah blah blah. If you try to leave, your father will attack you, and he's not a really hard fight. All he does is throws mass projectiles at you, and nothing really much. Once you beat him, he warns you the eclipse is starting, and we begin the last phase, the final one, Hallowed Realm. We must stop Sakuya before the final eclipse happens, because she'll use her powers to infect everyone with the syndrome. And if she succeeds, whatever happened to this island will be a global event now. This is non-related, but I needed to conclude this shot because this was really cool. Once we reach the lighthouse, we are greeted by Ruka's father again, and well, he attacks us. But the thing I would say that is cool with this chapter is that the build-up before you reach the top of the lighthouse is pretty damn good. You can hear the pipe ambiently be in the background, slowly increasing as you go up. It's pretty nice. The only thing not nice, it was like that 3 times before he gets a clue. Finally defeating him will give us the last piece of the mask of Lunar Eclipse. But since we have the Moonsong, things should go well now. We just need to put the mask on Sakuya's face.
Ruka, 月森の歌を
The one thing I find fascinating with this boss is that, compared to every final boss in every Fatal Frame game, where the maiden or the person you're facing usually is sacrificed to keep the gates of hell closed, this one was just merely an illness that went overboard. She wasn't someone important, she wasn't someone trying to do her mission or was born for a role, she merely caught in the illness. And her family trying to cure her unfortunately cost the island. She was simply and merely a victim. Unfortunately, she's gonna be a victim of my camera too. I'm even kidding you. It took 3 shots for her to be defeated. She got deleted. It's finally over. Now we just have to play the Moonsong and everything will be finished. Wait, let me restart. Yeah, apparently she comes back if you mess up the piano music, and I heard in hard mode, the game doesn't tell you what button to press to do the music. I am lucky. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I would be able to beat her if I was on hard mode right now. Not even the boss itself, just the piano.
してたその横顔あなたをまだ覚えていたい世界が果てても私のつぼみは咲き乱れて形もないどんな色に染まっていたかを忘れてしまった父さん満ち欠ける光に思いを束ねてあなたに続いてゆく私がいなければあなたは両手を翼に変えてゆけた揺れる意識の中沈む胸を手繰り寄せ待って待って父さん父さん
With that out of the way, I explained it as best as I could. I do think the plot in this game and the lore surrounding the patients, the ghosts, and everything is pretty solid. Like, it's vastly different from the other games, and it's like its own self-contained little thing. It's pretty nice. But man, playing this game really feels like I'm in a slow attraction ride made for kids since they're too short to reach to do the faster ones. Because my gosh, this game is slow. The running animation is so slow, it feels painfully annoying to get around places. Everything on the floor I have to slowly get down and pick it up. And it feels very noticeable because when you pick up 3 stuff in a row, when you're walking that one corridor very slowly, it hurts. And I almost forgot to mention the best part of that. You need to flash the flashlight onto the object to find it. And controlling it, since this was a Wii game by the way, is very stiff. And I'm not talking about Choshiro's camera, I'm talking about the flashlight all the characters have to like flash items so they can pick it up when it lights up blue. It's really bad, like I'm trying to aim something downwards and I just by the life of me can't find it. Like it just doesn't work. You can tell it's a Wii game because it would have been probably easier with the Wii remote. And when you pick up like 3 files in a row, you really feel that shit. It's annoying, especially with the hand that grabs you, that has a chance of grabbing you and stealing your item. Like this generally feels like just wasting my time. Like it actually feels like we're just padding for padding's sake. And it feels a bit useless because once you hear the audio cue, you can avoid it 100% of the time. Funny enough, when they remastered Made Under the Black Water, they didn't like put the audio cue so you can avoid it. So it's 100% more annoying in that one. Like this game feels more cinematic, ride, where they just hold your hand and let's show you the attraction park type game. Like that generally got me so annoyed, I was literally not reading files anymore because it was so long. And I usually love doing that. But in this game, I feel like they don't space them out correctly. They don't paste them between each other. Same when you're taking a picture of a ghost. You're going to see him open the door. Then it's going to cut to you in this corridor. Then open the door and it's going to be one after the other. It just doesn't stop. Once again, we have multiple characters, but this time we don't have points anymore. We have like stones we pick up. And like the usual, I don't like giving it to everyone because I don't know how long I'm gonna use them, so I just give it to the main protagonist, Ruka. But I do gotta say, it's not too bad in this game because since the camera, the 0 frame by the way, the one that takes no ammo, that you have infinite, is very strong. Like, it's very powerful. Misaki didn't have no upgrades, but if you get the fatal shot with the 0 upgrade, it's enough to kill mostly everything in the game. And this isn't normal. I had so many points at the end of the game since I only focused on upgrading Ruka that I could have bought 99 healing items, 99 green ammo, and all of them. Like, I was capped out. It was pretty crazy. I know in normal, you can't buy stuff in the items, so I'm not really, gonna fuss about it. The thing I don't want to play in hard is because I don't know if they balance around things. I explained this multiple times. I don't want to fight a tanky enemy, and it wasn't designed for my 0 upgraded camera, And while we're talking about fighting and cameras, I think the ghosts in this game, while they have some good designs, like talking about like their lore, story, and how they look are pretty cool, I think fighting them were pretty basic for this one. It was not memorable. I do think the blooming thing is pretty cool. When they get the sword to face, you get to fight them a bit more, but I don't think their moveset change besides, being slightly faster. And some of these ghosts, you fight them way too often. Like fighting Ayako 3 times is a bit much for my taste. Like there's less variety of enemies to fight. And last but not least, the OST. I'm not gonna lie with you, the Fatal Frame OST or ambient sound when you're roaming is starting to blend in a bit too much. Like you'd hear echoes of spirits and stuff besides a few locations. So I can't really remember all of them. But I know for 4, it's the composer for Danganronpa. So that's pretty cool. Also, the singer Amano is back again for Fatal Frame 4 actually. And she made 2 songs. Jeff Called My Name and Noise. And I don't know which one I like or like better, but they're pretty good. I still think I like the one for Fatal Frame 3 more, but they're pretty solid on their own right. But yeah, I think I mentioned everything I needed for this. I think so. I don't want this any longer. I wish I could aim this for 20 minutes, but let's end this here. Hope to see you next time. Bye bye.